Nahum Justin Vizakis is an international award-winning author, combat veteran, bodybuilder, and plant medicine facilitator. He bridges high-performance training with emotional regulation, identity work, and expanded awareness. In his new book, The Biohacker's Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding, he brings a blend of fitness, biohacking, mindset training, and plant medicine together to help people build stronger bodies and more resilient nervous systems while exploring conscious, science-grounded approaches to healing and transformation. Today, Nahum and I are going to talk all about how he got to this place of spiritual transformation and how you can too. Welcome, Dan Vizakis, to the Love You Even More podcast. So today I really want to start from kind of the beginning, not the very beginning, but the beginning of when you joined the military and how so much shifted after that experience, and getting you into biohacking and bodybuilding and this spiritual warrior person that you've become, at which so many questions and so many interests in this. So welcome to the podcast. Let's begin with how did you decide to go into the military?
Okay, first off, Jacqueline, thank you so very much for having me on this show. Truly an honor and a pleasure. I joined the military 2 months after 9/11, actually. I dropped out of high school and I was just working like laborer jobs. I was in construction. I hated it. And I didn't really have anything going on. Right around the time that 9/11 happened, like me and my girlfriend at the time broke up. And I was just doing dumb teenage stuff,
Yeah.
right? Just getting high on my friends and not doing anything smart. So I got my GED, and then I had a whole bunch of friends that were actually talking to recruiters because they were like talking about bonuses and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Why not? It was different than what I thought it was going to be, but I went with it. And as soon as I got to my unit, 6 months later, we're deploying to Iraq. Now I'm like, all right. It's like when you're training for an event, right? There's like the
Yeah.
Super Bowl of the military. And I had literally been praying for this, wanting to
Yeah.
go over there to experience it because I had this idea, this story I created in my mind
Mm.
of what it's going to be like, of what I'm going to accomplish, of how I'm going to be remembered and all these things.
Yeah.
And when I got over there, man, it was that story in my mind was not the reality of the situation at all. And I think it was that particular circumstance that kind of broke my identity because each experience that I went into when I got out there into the world was like, a lot of these there's like mostly just poor people that are just being bombarded by all this political nonsense. Most of it was avoidable,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was just these people that were in a lot of power that had these big agendas, and a lot of people just got hurt and taken advantage of. And it wasn't until one of my best friends got blown up by an IED,
Wow.
I was like, this could have been so easily prevented, and there's so many people that are dying over here, and for what? And I started to have this moral and ethical dilemma
Yeah.
where I realized that this was like some kind of spook game. And a lot of this was just like a really huge dog and pony show.
Mm.
All the things that the media was telling us, like out in the world, was a lie. And there's all this death and destruction. War is hell.
Yeah.
And I felt like from watching all the movies when I was younger, I felt like there was honor and duty, and there is like some kind of like country pride that came along with doing my duty for my country. And don't get me wrong, I love my country and I will do anything to support it. With that being said, what their idea of support and providing service to my country, I now see is not what I see as what is support and service to my country. So now
Yeah.
everything that I do is to support my country in the way that I see actually heals and helps and evolve, the healing of the country, because our country needs a lot of healing,
Yeah. That is
right?
for sure.
Especially our veterans.
Yeah.
So what I started seeing, and I started having this problem, like as this was happening, of course, I was getting really triggered and I started picking fights with the wrong people. And, they started to make my life a living hell. So there came a time while I was over there where it was the personality conflicts and like the bumping heads with my authority figures and leadership, which I later came to associate with my relationship with my father, right?
Oh,
Of
well,
course, it all
that's
it
a
all
good
comes down to
association.
childhood stuff,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, like I started getting depressed and getting put on antidepressants and going to therapy and all this stuff, and I started like losing my mind a little bit. The last 6 to 9 months I was over there at the base camp that I was at, there was an average of it was over 100 suicides a month. I know that,
Jesus.
right? In fact, right probably about 800 to 1,000 meters away from me, there was like this suicide help tent
Mm.
that you could go into. And there was this young kid that went in there like 8 times to try to get help. And they're just shoo him away. No, no, no. And one day he just went in there with his M4 and just started spraying it down. I was like a thousand
Oh my
meters away
God.
from that,
Oh my God.
right? Because nobody would listen to him, nobody would help him. And when they do help, all they do is shove drugs down your throat. So all this stuff and this is before anybody knew any of this stuff was going on, right?
Yeah.
We're just seeing now in the last 5, 6 years all these problems, but this was happening way before, the mainstream knew about it.
And you're
So
referring to like a PTSD kind of situation, right?
100%, yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I think a lot about that. I mean, as a therapist, like it really kind of boggles my mind how we just kind of started talking about PTSD maybe 10 years ago.
it's
And
crazy.
it's just like, when we think about like our grandfathers, except in like
Yeah,
older generations, like they came home and then just didn't talk about anything. And we're like,
right,
just leave me alone. And like people just thought, oh, that's dad or that's grandfather. And
right.
they're just suffering from this like extreme PTSD. And I'm glad that there's so much more work being, thrown at that. But yeah,
It's still not enough.
it's
It's still
not.
not enough.
It's yeah, yeah. So go on.
And
So this is
yeah,
just incredibly hard and you're already going through your own sort of transformation of like, I don't agree with any of this, I don't align with this. When were you actually able to get out and like get home?
and so 6 months later, I ended up being over there for 18 months total. When I got back, I didn't have a unit to go to. I didn't know who to report to because I flew back myself. Normally, you fly back with a unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I flew back myself, and thankfully, I kept in touch with one person back near base, so they let me stay with them until I can get this stuff figured out. So they immediately got me officially diagnosed with PTSD and put me in the Warrior Transition Unit to be medically discharged out with PTSD. And at that point, that was when that part was over. But now I had a year-long medical board to go through, which was equally living hell. The one thing that helped me sort of ground myself and bring myself back to who I was about 6 months into it. I went through this 20 years ago, so I can talk about it now. I just quit taking everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to hide it. I did it on my own. And when I quit taking everything, honestly, I started taking small doses of testosterone. And I started hitting the weights.
Yeah.
And for me, that brought me back to myself. It gave me a sense of control because that was one thing that I was good at, right?
Yeah.
So then I really just I shifted my focus. I was still going through the process, but I shifted my focus to being a victim to the situation, to playing the game and being more empowered. And so I set a date to do a bodybuilding show. So while I was going through that process, I ended up doing a bodybuilding show. I won first place. It was amazing. Finally, I got out of the Warrior Transition Unit and everything went fairly well. And with all the experience that I had, I decided I was going to dedicate my life to figuring out my own mind to understand how all these other people that I saw that were so messed up, what is going on in the psyche that creates these issues, these problems, so that, because I don't want to be another statistic. I want
Right.
to make sure that I can do my part to help and heal. And so I moved to Arizona and I went to ASU and I started studying psychology and I was bodybuilding and I was doing great, for a couple years
Mm-hmm.
until I kind of got like, I wasn't really getting what I thought I was going to get from college. It was good intellectual, like left brain information, but
Right.
I still felt like something was missing, right? So I decided, and I was getting kind of sick of school. Like I had to take all these classes like math and chemistry and history, all this stuff that I didn't care about. I just wanted to study the stuff that I was passionate about, right?
Right.
So I came to a point. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to massage school because I can make money. It's only going to take me 10 months. You know, the military can still pay for it. It all just kind of made sense. Plus, being a bodybuilder, all my friends are personal trainers. So I can just be the massage therapist for all my personal trainer friends. And I got a whole business, system right there. So I ended up moving to Las Vegas and I went to massage school up there. Now, when I went to massage school, that was the next point that changed everything for me. Because up until that point, even going through all the stuff that I did in Iraq and coming back, right? I was still in fight or flight. I never learned or understood how my nervous system worked or how breathing works or how all these things affect, the physical body and the mind. So when I went to massage school, right, you're doing massages on each other all day, every day. And so the one thing that they taught us when we first got there is that we have to get into our beingness, right? We have to slow down, take deep breaths, relax, and connect, in the present moment to our client. And after about 2 months of me doing that, I started getting these crazy headaches. Like they shot from the back of my head to the back of my right eye. I'll never forget this. And one day it got so bad, I literally I just wanted to bang my head on the wall to make myself pass out. It was it was different than a migraine, but it
Right.
almost felt like it felt my head was cracking open. So I started to think, do I have to go to the hospital? Like, do I have a hematoma or something? What's going on here?
Right.
And so my partner that one day was like, hey, can I do some work on you? See if I can help you out. I was like, please, anything. I'll try anything. And so
Hmm.
he literally just gently put his fingers on my CV4 joint, which is right back here between the cranium and the neck. And this shot me out of my body. Like now, when I was a teenager, when I was homeless, I did a lot of acid, so I thought maybe I was having an acid flashback or something, like something was stuck in my spine. I didn't know what was going on.
Sure.
And I'm shooting out of my body, and I feel like I'm being sucked down this dark wormhole. And I felt like these dark spirits were trying to grab me, suck me into a void space. I was terrified. And apparently on the outside, while I was doing this, I had essentially left my body,
Hmm.
and my body was flopping around like a fish, right? So it all intents and purposes, it kind of looked like a seizure. I'd flop around, and then I would go limp, and then I'd flop
Yeah.
around and go limp for about 2 hours. This was going on in front of everybody in the class.
And he's still
All right.
working on you while this is happening?
Well, when I woke up, there was four people working on me.
Oh my
There
God.
was there was two people I think doing Reiki. He was doing craniosacral work, and then two people were doing acupressure on me. So it was very
Okay.
gentle work. But
Okay.
after a while I was going through this, I started to feel more safe, and
Okay.
I assumed that that was because these people were working on me and helped me out. But that was really the first time I felt anything energetically. So what I came to learn after that, my teacher that day, I was like, do I need to go to the hospital? What's going on here? And he started laughing at me. I was like, is this a laughing matter? What's going on here? And he said, you had just had the most powerful SER that I've ever seen in my life. And so for
What's an
those,
SCR?
an SER is a somato emotional release.
Okay.
So we store emotions in our fascia, in our tissue, right?
Right.
So what happened was that, and mind you, I was about 25 pounds bigger than I am now.
Okay.
So I was still bodybuilding at that time. I was huge.
Hmm.
And I was taking Adderall in the morning, and I was taking Ambien to go to sleep at night. So I was still all medicated.
Yeah.
And in my fascia, I had built up this sort of armor of protection from my insecurity
Sure.
in my muscle tissue, and I had so much muscle tissue that my fascia started doing what's called fascial unwinding. It basically from the breath and through getting to my beingness over time, it relaxed my nervous system enough to where the emotions could finally release out of my tissue.
Oh my gosh.
So the somatic work helped to release it from my body and reset my central nervous system. After that experience, I didn't want to hang around the same people. I didn't want to eat the same foods. I broke up with my girlfriend. I moved. I stopped eating the same foods.
Right.
Everything changed.
Yeah.
And I started just focusing on body work because now I'm like, what is this? Like,
Yeah.
did I just unlock? On one hand, I was so confused and felt so lost, but on another hand, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This
Yeah.
is what I've been trying to experience and feel because we're all looking for a feeling, right? It's just important not to get caught up in the feeling if you feel like something's missing. So I felt like finally pieces of me were being brought back into alignment. And as I started working on people, I was attracting clients that were helping me understand my own gifts more efficiently. I started to learn that I actually have an ability to feel into people's trauma in their own body. So everything that I've gone through, connecting myself to the truth of that lesson, of that imbalance, it's
Right.
allowed me to see it in other people. Um, and
And was that happening while you were doing massage therapy, or was that also happening just as you're meeting people, just like feeling their energy, or both?
Both, but I didn't. I started learning it and understanding it as mostly as I was working on people at
Okay.
first.
Okay.
Now I'm at a point where I can meet someone and I can read their energy in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
right? But that's after 10 years of, deep, deep, intensive work.
Right.
Um, so the next layer after that, that kind of brought me to this, next level of understanding of self and the world. And I want, what I'm explaining right here is jumps in years, thresholds of timelines,
For
I
sure.
like to call it, in
Yeah.
my life, right? When you're going through it, you don't understand what's going on. So it's important if anyone is going through something like this right now, not to get attached to understanding it. Because the more that you try to figure out, the more you'll loop it and the more you'll just bring it back down and keep yourself from the growth and expansion of it. The more you can let go of needing to figure out, understand what's going on, the more it can integrate and the information will come through after you've moved through that process. At least
So
that's been my experience.
no, I think that's a very like strong experience a lot of people have where it's like the analytical brain just keeps looping it, right? And just
It wants to
thinking,
know.
trying to fix it, trying to solve it, right? But what you're
Yeah.
saying is to just surrender and to just let it
Surrender.
completely like come through you and like have the answers come, have your life unfold the way it's going to.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but that's very hard for most people to do.
I mean, it's very hard for me too,
Yeah,
which
we're
is
only
which is
human.
why, right, exactly. Which is I've just for me the depth and desire of the feeling to really understand myself has been stronger than the desire to stay in the same place.
Yeah.
Now, that varies widely for everyone out there. So everyone has their own way that they do this process. But really, it comes down to the sort of internal tug of war between control and surrender, or fear and faith. I kind
Hmm.
of see those as like the two same different sides of the coin, right?
Yeah.
So my next level was about 6 months later. I had a client come see me, and she was like, "Hey, I know of an ayahuasca ceremony going on, down the street in a couple weeks. Are you interested?" And I didn't know what that was at the time, so I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, this is
Good
my
for the
next
next
step."
step.
Yeah.
Jinx.
So, so I was terrified because
Yeah.
everything that I read, I think Joe Rogan had come out with a podcast talking about it at one point. This is back in 2014, so a long time ago. And there wasn't really much around out there. I was like,
It was new.
how toxic is my body? Do I even know what surrender is? Am I gonna be able to surrender with all this unknown? Who knows? And all this fear
Yeah.
started coming up. But it's like, you know what? I got to do it anyways. Like I can feel, I just know that this is gonna help me get some answers I've been looking for. And ironic that the drive to go into that was actually kind of a control mechanism through learning how to let go of control, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's it's nuanced for sure. So when I went to go do this ceremony, it was actually in Las Vegas. It was in a pink house. This guy
Naturally.
Metza is a very, yeah, right. And this guy Metza, he was very very powerful, very grounded man. Like I met this guy and his energy, he just seemed like 20 feet tall. He was just huge. And when I took that first cup, my heart was pounding out of my chest. I was so nervous. I was like, my negative thoughts gonna make me have a bad trip, and this is gonna be bad. And it's gonna be like, oh my God, I don't know what to expect. And my monkey mind was just going crazy. And then after about an hour and a half, suddenly I felt this warm, soft slowness. Just my whole body just like completely relaxed. Felt like I was like sinking into a cloud. And I felt this loving presence that I later learned understood, is the presence of ayahuasca. And she said, it's okay. It's okay. You can relax. It's okay. You can let go. I'm here. I got you. And I figured out that this was the vibration of unconditional love.
Mm.
I knew it. And that is what I have been searching for my entire life. I've never felt the feeling before, ever. And once I felt that, now granted, I had some other massive experiences throughout that night and that weekend. Um, but the main takeaway was finally getting the reference point of what the feeling of love feels like. And once that touched my heart, it completely changed me because then I realized everything I've experienced before that in my life was not love. So what was it?
Mhm.
And then I started exploring attachment styles and how abandonment and rejection issues. And that opened up a whole new can of worms, for me into my childhood, wounds and issues, into understanding my abandonment issues, my relationship with my mom, relationship, with my
Yeah.
biological father and my stepfather, and all these, different things, running away from home and being in foster care, and how I've been really running away from myself because I felt rejected from my mom and all the, I started connecting all these dots on,
Amazing.
how these fears have been embedded in my nervous system and how they've really controlled my life.
Yeah.
And go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you ever it's an old movie, but it's called Defending Your Life. Did you ever hear of that movie?
Defending your life? No.
Ah, it's such a good movie. It's an old movie
Yeah?
from like the 80s, maybe the 90s, but the whole idea is that you're defending your life before you can go to like heaven or hell or whatever. You're like in this in-between zone where you have like lawyers and like there's a lawyer against you who's like, no, they need to go back to Earth and do it again. And then you have your
Huh?
lawyer who's like, no, 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 look at all the good he did or she did or whatever. And in the movie,
Wow.
and this movie is so smart. It's a comedy with like Meryl Streep, but it is
Oh, really?
so smart. And so for all of us people who are like in this zone of like, just spiritualism, when
Yeah.
I watch it, I'm like, no, no, they're actually like talking about the truth. The biggest thing they want to make sure is, did you conquer your fears?
Mm.
Did you live your life by fear? Were you able to get over it? And if you are, you can
Wow.
move forward. And I think it's so silly because it's a movie, but it's so true, right?
That
And
is
what
so
you're
true.
saying is like, I had this experience where suddenly all of the patterns started to click. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. And you do see so much fear that's so interwoven in us that it's just
Yeah.
hiding in plain sight. Like we're still operating from it, but we don't realize how powerfully it's operating us.
You are
And
not kidding.
so, yeah, to like have this ayahuasca experience and be like, wait, oh my God, I get the past that brought me here, like all of the things that created me up until now, and now I can like put them together and make different choices, which essentially is like I think what I won't say everyone, but I do think a lot of people want. That's what they're trying to get to is like, let me get to the place where I'm brave enough to look at myself and look at my patterns and look at my fear and be like, I'm going to choose differently.
100%.
So
That's
hard.
I kind of feel like that is essentially in a nutshell, that's the narrative of facing the human condition,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
all in our own unique way, and it when you get down to the very source, it all comes down to frequency and vibration,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are at our cellular level, all the atoms and electrons and protons and neutrons are all vibrating at a certain rate. When they vibrate in alignment, then your aura, we're electromagnetic beings. So we attract what we need to learn or need to experience. And if you're in alignment, you're experiencing the things that are great, best for your highest good. If you're not in alignment, then you're manifesting things that are there to teach you a lesson.
Ooh,
Either way,
go on, go on.
either way, it's helping you grow and learn.
I have a question. So, what do you
Hmm.
think about like tests? Like you're in alignment, you feel like you're in alignment, but then like a little test comes in. Does that mean you're not fully in alignment? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that the way that I look at tests, and again, when you're in that test, how do you perceive it? If you perceive it as, okay, I see this is challenging a boundary, and this is what's coming in to make sure that I've learned my lesson. Because
Hmm.
I think we're always going to have tests. That's like, because there's growth is not finite, it is infinite. We'll keep growing and growing and growing in all different ways.
Yeah.
There's always something that can, and even if in the state that we're in right now, then there's a larger reality that we need to move up into, and more and more and more and more and more. It
Yeah.
it doesn't stop.
Okay, I want to ask how, in your like opinion, like in your belief system, do you believe that we're reincarnating? Do you believe that we are able to sort of, I like to say this, like max out in this life where you're like, okay, I'm gonna like get this shit done. I'm going to get all of it done because I don't want to come back here anymore. I'm done. That's how I feel. Thoughts?
Okay.
What are your
So
thoughts?
I've actually thought a lot about this in the last couple of years with everything going on in the world. So the way that I see it, especially as humanity is collectively raising its vibration right now, I believe that we're all choosing right now where we want to go, whether we want to allow fear to be our dominant vibration or whether we want love to be our dominant vibration. Every choice, every decision that you make is leading you down one of those roads. But as far as reincarnation, yes, I believe that we do our souls reincarnate. Whatever we did not learn in that particular lifetime, we'll come back and have to learn through experiences in this next lifetime. Now, we do have an opportunity to shift, I guess you could say, dimensions or levels of frequency,
Mhm.
and I think we're all heading into a new frequency of sustaining in that love vibration. So that's what we're all choosing right now, whether we want to sort of fundamentally inhabit the frequency of love or fundamentally inhabit the frequency of fear and have to come back here and do that again. So like to your point, right? Like if you're already in the space where you're like, I've already learned everything I want to learn from Earth School, I'm good. So I'm going to stay in love. And so you're aware of that and you're making these conscious decisions to go in that direction. So I think if you're in that place, I mean, it's not going to be easy, right? Because, like you said, the tests are going to be consistent, but you become more resilient to the tests, and you become more in alignment and honoring your own boundaries. And that's really, with the belief systems that we're shedding and we're growing into. These new belief systems are creating new opportunities for us to stay in awareness of the imbalances more easily and consistently so that we can maintain that higher vibration. And when we do, though, I think that opens up a whole new world. Imagine for a moment if there were 8 billion people in the world and they were all living in a space of love. We would not have the same world that we have now
Yeah.
because everything that we're seeing out there, there's corruption, there's greed, there's all nasty, dark, I mean, dark, evil
Yeah.
things out there, right? And I feel like all that stuff's getting called out and I would like to say purified, right? But
Mm.
there's still a lot more to go because it goes so deep and so dark. So the more of us that own this more loving frequency, now, and when I say loving, I think a lot of people just think like, you're kumbaya and you're just sitting in a lotus pose all day long. And that's not what love is.
Okay.
Love to me is honoring self, honoring God, and honoring humanity, doing, living your life to serve and support other people,
Hmm.
to be able to optimize the collective love, right? And love is patience, is kindness, but it's also when there's darkness out there, it's holding people accountable. It's calling people out in their shit, right?
Hmm.
It's not allowing deception or narcissism or Machiavellian nature or any of these things into your zone and protecting the people that you do love and you do care about in your community, in your tribe.
Hmm.
And I think that everybody right now is kind of on the path of really they can see it, and some people when they see it, they get so triggered, right? Then
How
other
so? Like,
people
give an example of what that might look like.
getting triggered by that.
Yeah, like what might be an example of a
So you
triggering
ever
moment?
you ever you ever seen someone that's like in a bad mood, right? And they're carrying that bad mood. And then, like, say they have a surprise birthday party and everybody's all happy and excited, right? But they had a really tough day, and
Yeah.
they walk in and they get more irritated by everybody being so happy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like they want to hold on to that bad day so bad that everybody, all this bright Care Bear shining, hey, let's celebrate. They're
Yeah.
like, I just want to go to bed. No, I'm just tired. I don't want to deal with it,
Right.
right? Some people just refuse to embrace that kind of energy.
Yeah.
It triggers their demons, and they're
Right.
and they're choosing to allow their demons to be in control,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of that. And that's such a great example of it too, because like, what if the majority of the world was trying to find love, trying to be love, and like shine that light? And yeah, the darkness, well, it's so interesting because I do feel like darkness is attracted to light, but also like when darkness is seen, it does what you just described, right? It
Yes.
retreats and it's like, no, I want to hold on to this. Like, I want to stay in this mood. Like, I want to stay here.
But
Because
not
it's
only
based out
that,
of
though,
fear.
but not only that, though, too, darkness can come in much more insidious ways, like someone that has cancer, for example,
Mm,
right? When you're diagnosed with cancer, now you're faced with an existential crisis.
mm-hmm.
But that cancer is a protective mechanism growing inside you because you've been avoiding some fundamental truth within you for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, in order to heal that cancer, which there are many natural ways to be able to heal that nowadays, and I believe more technologies are coming out to be able to support that. But that means that you have to change your lifestyle, that you have to face something that you don't want to face. It's going to be painful to get that cleared out. You're going to have to face uncomfortable truths, and you're going to have to look at all your belief systems, all the ways that you've been living in order to be able to, clear that out.
Yeah.
So a part of you really, like, there's a part of you that is now growing against you that has to die. Now, you can voluntarily do it, which is really what for me personally, right? Plant medicine has helped me the most with that, to be able to see these things before it accumulates to that level.
Right.
All right. But there are many, many, many different ways that one can, you know, face these experiences in their life. And everyone is drawn to their own thing. It's just right now, it's education and awareness of knowing even what's out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why the whole biohacking world is getting so big right now, because these things are working.
They are working. Biohacking is a huge part of, like what you focus on and talk about.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how you're using biohacking in your own life.
So I use my biggest component and the thing that I stress the most is the diagnostics part. Now, when I say diagnostics, I'm not talking about diagnosing.
Hmm.
I'm talking about looking at analytical data, right? Because a lot of people, for me, when I meet someone, I can do an hour-long, assessment on them, and I can tell them everything that's going on emotionally, physically, biochemically, nutritionally.
Mm.
All right, I can see and feel everything that's off. It's just part of the everything that I've been through. Like I've learned to see patterns and feel them, and I can. That's my gift for all the things that I've gone through. That's what the God has imbued me with this gift, because I've had the strength to be able to endure it. But I use analytics in order to be able to back that up,
Mhm.
so that I can show them, hey, these levels are low. These are you're tight in your hips here. You have this going on, which means emotionally you have a lack mentality around money, and you're going around something that's blocking your heart. And
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
once you start breaking these things down, people are usually like, how did you connect those dots?
Yes.
So I utilize these because the most important part, if biohacking is going to work, right? And I need everybody to hear this, because a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm just going to go try a cold plunge, and I'm just going to go try infrared sauna just to try it, right? Just to do it. But the stuff works 100-fold better if you have a systematic approach for your specific imbalances, right? And if you understand and see it with, okay, I'm going towards this fundamental goal because this is my problem. I'm not just doing it just because I know it's good for me. It's like taking supplements just because they're good for you. Well, it might be good for a human body, but is it good for your specific situation? You don't really know that.
Right.
So I use these diagnostics, and then I create customized biohacking protocols based on these diagnostics. But coming back to the most important thing is that you have to understand the correlation to your lifestyle habits and patterns and your emotional compensations. What are you hiding from, suppressing, running away from within yourself that is making you want to feed yourself poison or, drink too much or do, or, whatever, avoid your relationship with your kids, whatever it might be. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
And look,
exactly.
we're all imperfect. There is zero judgment in that statement because Lord knows, like I'm right there with you guys. And
Yeah.
this is why I feel like it's so important because when sometimes when those demons come out, right, and you're trying to help people understand, identify these things, they get butthurt, they're too vulnerable. I can't talk about that right now. Like, no, that can't be part of the solution. No, it is the solution.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you learn to look at that, then there's usually a belief system that is attached to, well, it's no big deal. Well, like she's gonna be fine over here. Well, like I make money, maybe I did OnlyFans for a while, but it's okay, nobody cares. Like these are all things that are it's usually we kind of stuff it down like it's not a big deal,
Yeah.
in the periphery. It's usually those things that we do that are the biggest things.
I couldn't agree with you more. It is so scientifically proven that if you are broken emotionally, it will show up in your body. It's
Absolutely.
connected to like the chakras, right? Like it depends
Right.
on if you're heartbroken, your heart will break, essentially. Like as simple as
Yeah.
that. Um, and that's what I always talk to people about, to be honest. So I'm very much on the same side as you, and I love that you're doing more of like an analytics to show people like exactly this is what's going on with you. Because it is true. It's like our bodies are these like vessels, right? That we're like on loan. They're on loan to us, and we're
The
just
most
like,
advanced technology in existence. I
right.
don't care
We're
what
like,
anybody says.
it's like, okay, let me like take good care of this like car that I've been given. It's like,
Right.
it's a good car, like maybe not the
Yeah.
best always, but pretty good depending on the body. And like
And
when
depending on how good you take care of it.
yeah, exactly. And so when these emotional things happen, and like you said, like you stuff them down, or there's too much shame, and they just can't look at it, it will
Yeah.
pop up. It will bubble up and manifest in all kinds of ways. And it's not
Yeah.
always mental, too. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just always going to show up mentally. Sometimes it does, of course. I'm a therapist, of course it does. But like most times, it's showing up physically, and that
Yep.
person has a lot of people, I know you know this, but a lot of people are not very in touch with their emotions. They can't
You're
name them, they don't want to feel them, and then their
yeah.
body becomes sick. And now they have to name them and they have to feel them and they have to address them. So everything you're saying is truly like that is the future. Like that is the future of
Agreed.
health on all of the realms, like mental, physical, spiritual. And,
Yep.
it's an amazing thing. Talk to me about your new book coming out because I know all of this is in there so people can.
Uh, yeah. So my new book is already out. It's called The Biohacker's Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding, and essentially it's covering. So my journey through bodybuilding, uh, I feel has been it taught me, I guess, different things than what I've experienced, with other people in the community. But it's been a very spiritual experience for me, and learning about the fascia meridians and fascia and posture and the way that we approach training, the way that we approach nutrition. There's a lot of ways that we can trick ourselves into believing that we're being disciplined or optimized or being good to ourselves when we're really beating ourselves up. So I go into all these spiritual components, these metaphysical uh, meanings of why we're doing what we're doing. So when you really look deeper, you can kind of see, okay, wake up at this time in the morning, I'm doing this, but why? Why is your brain only getting an hour of REM sleep at night? Why do you feel like you have to get angry when you train? Why do you need pre-workout? Why do you need, to do all these things that you're doing? Why are you stepping on a stage competing?
Yeah.
Right? I'd say 90% of people that compete in that sport they're addicts or
Yeah.
they have some kind of like mental disorder. It like that sport invites in addictive personalities, and I've lost six good close friends, but I've known many more that have died from going too far in the sport of bodybuilding. Two friends that have had to have kidney transplants
Oh my gosh.
because what happens is you get especially like say influencers, right? They get big on social media, they get all this external validation and attention. So they feel like they had to push harder and harder and harder and keep that, appearance up out there. And there are so many people doing so much crap. I mean, the levels of drugs that people are doing these days, now they're introducing all these new experimental stuff in peptides. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's therapeutic ways that you can utilize these tools,
Yeah,
but too much of anything is not good for you. And
totally.
some of the protocols and things that I'm seeing, especially these young kids, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, jumping on trend, jumping on growth hormone, it's
Yeah,
insane,
right.
insane. And
Yeah.
like, even like, especially children, and I want to, like, if there's any younger generation watching this, nobody under the age of 25 should be messing with hormones or even peptides for that matter.
Agreed.
It literally affects the growth of the prefrontal cortex. And
Yikes.
it'll literally program the prefrontal cortex is what controls all your behavior pretty much for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
right? And you start to develop a limitation around the identity of being that certain feeling that you have in your body, right? Not to mention
Mhm.
that you're going to stunt the growth of your bones, of really every tissue in your body.
Yeah.
So you may not grow as tall as what you thought. Even if you're going to be doing growth hormone, you could still stunt your growth, especially if you're squatting, too heavy and using bad form. So all these things I go over, and especially like the spiritual connotation for the abuse of every single PED out there,
Wow.
right? So I don't see anybody else talking about this kind of stuff, and I feel like there's needs to be more conversations about it
Mhm.
because anything can be like therapeutic or poisonous, depending on how you use it. And if you're listening to all the people out there that are getting all this recognition, stop. People are looking and paying attention to the wrong things, and it's easy, especially when you're a kid. You're influential. You see all these really, like 18-year-old boy that is insecure sees all these really hot girls, and then he's like gets a little bit of attention. Now he's running around chasing girls for the next 15 years of his life.
Mhm.
Probably has 8 kids running around somewhere. Like, I cannot tell you how many stories of people in this industry that I've seen that happen to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like the tale as old as time, right? Like you find something that works, you get attention for it, and you just want to keep it going. And that is the addiction, right?
You're absolutely right. And you get a lot of attention. When I got out of the military and I was like in the best shape of my life and I was competing a lot, I got a lot of attention.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you what, I'm grateful that God kind of called me out before I went too far.
Yeah,
And I had and it destroyed my life for a little while, but I needed that in order to
yeah,
be able to be humbled.
right.
And so now, like, I train and I stay in shape because I feel good and because it keeps me structured in my life and
Yeah,
it keeps me, in alignment, I feel, right? So I don't require or need any external validation for why I'm doing what I'm doing. I like to just keep to myself. I like my relationships to be, private. But I like to educate and share and teach the things from all the things that I've done wrong. If I can help one person to avoid making a disastrous decision that's going to cost them 10 years of karma, then,
Mhm.
I did my job. I'm grateful for that.
I love that. You are
Thank
a
you.
very interesting person. You've lived many, many lives, and
Yeah, right.
that's one of the biggest reasons why you should all read his books because
Thank you. I
there's a lot of
appreciate that.
wisdom that you have to share. I mean, there's so much more we could touch upon. I feel like we just
Yeah.
like reached the surface of like many, many cool things. But
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come here and just talk about your story and everything. Like, honestly, there's so much we could talk about, so much more. But you'll have to come
Yeah.
back. But
Well,
tell
we can
people
always
how
do a
they.
part two.
I know. I was like, we could do it on body maxing. Like, there's a whole situation going on with that.
Oh, yeah.
But thank you so much. Tell people how they can find you.
You can go to optimizinghuman.com. It's my website. Also, spiritualbodybuilder.com is my website too. But uh, I'm most active on my Instagram at spiritual_bodybuilder. And I can just, and then, of course, my two books are both on Amazon, The Indigo Flame and The Biohacker's Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding. Just type them in. And you can also get them on my website too.
Perfect. They will all be in the show notes. You can just click the links. You'll find them immediately.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much.
It's been an honor.